Stand for Pledge of Allegiance. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Report of action taken in closed session. We went into closed session at 5:33 and closed at 6:31. Item, I'll do this in the order in which we did it. Item C, we did that one first, so Bernadette could get home earlier. Conference with labor negotiator, name of agency designated representative Bernadette Costa Moran, Director of Business Services, represented employee, district superintendent, no action taken. Item A was next, conference labor negotiator, name of the agency negotiator, employee organization, CSEA, 815, no action taken. Item B, conference labor negotiator, name of agency negotiator, Paul White, employee organization, Angels Camp Copper Educators ACE, no action taken. Personal matter, the extending leave to include job share with Government Code 54957. We had a motion from Diane and second from Christy. It passed with all present board members with Jennifer absent. The personnel assignment order, page 20 in our board packet. Motion was Kendall and second was Christy. It also passed 401 with just one absent. Information and discussion items. Board members, Ms. Christie. Oh, did I skip? Oh, I skipped public comment. You're so good. Thank you so much. Wow, good. No, I said it so fast. Like public comment. Thank you. At this time, any person may address the board on any issues within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board pursuant to the Brown Act. The board will take no action or have discussion on any item not appearing on the posted agenda except as authorized by law. The board may ask clarifying questions or make statements regarding the input. No speakers included. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes per individual for a total of no longer than 20 minutes per topic. Speakers shall state their first and last name at the start of their input. The speaker shall not be interrupted by either the public or the board except reminders to adhere to board policy on public comment. While providing input regarding employees, policies, procedures, services, or actions, the public shall refrain from using personal identifying information. In the case of public criticism or employee district, the board president or school administrator shall inform the complainant of the appropriate complaint procedure. Is there anyone present who would like to speak for public comment? Online, is there anyone who would like to speak for public comment?
Can we do a sound check? Nate, can you hear us? Can you hear Mr. Randall?
Nate, can you hear us?
Thank you.
Unmute himself.
Thank you.
Sam's got.
Okay, so any
Any other people, or is that what?
Mr. Schneider, JM, BM, and Nate, do you have any public comment? Hearing none.
We'll go no. Okay, all right. And now, information discussion item. Board members with Ms. Christie, please.
So I want to first start by saying thank you to Kendall. I know this is the last one, but it is the last regular one. And what I've learned in my 2 short years is that public service is a thankless job in a lot of ways. So to put yourself out there with your commitment and your time, and for the amount of time that you've done it, it's really honorable. So I just want to say thank you as a parent and as a board member. It means a lot to find people who step up and do that. Congratulations to Scott. I am echoing, it's a thankless job. So, and I don't mean that in a negative way. You just kind of get it from every end, and sometimes it's just hard to manage. But I think you're going to do really well, and welcome on board and look forward to working with you. I attended an assembly last Friday, and I would have to say it's probably the most parents I've ever seen at Mark Twain. I think everybody's just itching to just be back to normal. So it was really nice. It was nice to see everybody there. The same day they did a tamale sale, so I waited around for that because I thought, well, if I go home, I'll just kind of linger. So I checked in, Lisa, and I sat with the little kids at lunch, which is like my secret joy. I probably look really weird to them, but they're all really nice to me and they'll come up to me. But there's so many things that I forget as a mom, but also like that reminder as a board member too. So I left about the 4th grade because I was like, they're really cute, but they're not as cute as this one. So it was fun to see them all just kind of scurry around. So that was great. Tamales were wonderful. I went to the ELAC event. Feliz Navidad event. Okay. And that was just amazing. The food, absolutely phenomenal. The music, the kids, the pinata, like it was a really, I love seeing our facilities used that way, the way that they really should be used, with your kids running around and enjoying that kind of special time. So that was a lot of fun. So that's all.
I want to start with Kendall first. And I'm going to miss you so much. I'm going to miss your thoughtfulness, your wisdom, you're always professional. You've given so much all these years. So I kept telling everybody to write you in on the ballot because I wanted to keep you. But I understand you've got a different path right now, and that's a good thing. I want to welcome Scott. I'm looking forward to working with you. Like Christy said, it's a tough job sometimes, but we enjoy it, you know, and we're here for the kids, we're here for the community, and I think that's important for all of us. I want to wish everyone, well, we're going to have one more meeting, but I still want to wish everyone a nice holiday, a well-deserved holiday. I'm sure everybody needs a little time to regenerate and refresh and just relax for a little bit.
And I'm gonna go next, so Kendall can you. Three things. I want to make a comment. Last meeting, I thought there were mistakes with the minutes, and I turned out I was mistaken, which was not the first time, so I'm okay with that. But I wanted to let people know that that was not on Samantha, that was on me. But I feel like if I make a mistake, I do it at school, I just acknowledge it, just move on. But I don't like people to take shade from me inadvertently when it was not her mistake, it was my mistake in that one. I want to thank the people who've been giving me nice Christmas things here. We normally start my official roll factory at home. I see Kendall's husband here.
Waiting for the roll.
Yes. It's a pleasure to hear that they're appreciated so much. And you shared it with your sister too? Okay, good. All right, good. Both my wife and I are recovering from various respiratory issues, and we're doing better. And so soon we'll get the rolls done. We may need to deliver some at the next meeting, which is the organization meeting. There may be in January, but you'll get them. And so that's there. I want to recognize Scott for achieving this, as I said, thankless job of sitting here. And my conversations with you have been great, where while I view Kendall as irreplaceable, you were going to be a great addition to the board. I look forward to working with you. And Ms. Kendall, I remember when you first were elected, we were both in the midterm years, and we ran together, and you have been fabulous. There are times where probably I have tripped over things with my foot in my mouth. You've been very gracious in how to help me get my foot out of my mouth. And you've been professional, you've been kind, you've been patient, even in the times where we may not agree. that you've been, for me, a great partner on the board, good communicator, someone I could trust implicitly with everything. I know this does not preclude you from running again. So you may get people knocking on your door asking for that, but it's been great having you here. Your turn.
Well, now you're getting all choked up. And so I did write something down just in case I got choked up and what they would think. So I was going to say that, if you don't mind. After 8 years, I still get nervous. So I just want to thank you all. And it's been an honor serving on the board for the last 8 years. And I've loved being an advocate for children. That's the best part of it, as Christy says, that's the joy of it. I think that's why we all do it, is for the kids. And I hope to continue to do that in some capacity, be it through 4-H or through some other avenue. And I want to thank all the good, hardworking people in this district, Paula, Sam, JD, everyone in the district office, all of you, and principals, teachers, and staff, and most especially my fellow board members with whom I have worked so closely. It has been wonderful to work with such special and talented people. This is a very special district, and I will miss you very much.
Okay, next, ASB Associate Student Body, Student Council and Leadership. Do we have a representative for that? No. Okay. Badger Boosters and Copperose receive reports and highlights?
No, we did not.
Okay. Certificate and Classified Employees, ACE, ACE.
No, we do not.
I'm missing Jeff.
Nate, would you be speaking on behalf of CSEA or no?
Anything in the chat? Room?
Yes.
Was that an old?
Yes,
That
Liz,
was,
could you
that was
hear
yes,
us?
if he could hear us.
Okay, all right. So moving on, and if somebody shows up who represents the other groups, we can slip them in. We'll start with Mark Twain Elementary School, Ms. Lisa.
Okay. It's been a busy month since we last there. We're here as Christy said, we had our honor roll, we had our student of the month. Our gym was packed. I mean, the kids were sitting on the floor. It was actually a really exciting, very long assembly. We might do it a little differently next time, but it was really, it was exciting to have some of the intermediate grades actually see all the 7th and 8th graders and their hard work and really see those principal honor rolls and teacher honor roll and superintendent honor roll. So it was just incredibly exciting. The ELAC Fiesta, for lack of a better, it was so well attended. And yes, there were kids running around and the music was going and it was like a backyard barbecue that you're like, oh, wow. So that was actually fabulous as well. Our Battle of the Books teams have been formed. Tanya Zelke, our librarian, is very busy putting all those pieces together and working through the books with our team. January 21st, I believe, is the date. So I'll kind of keep you up to date on that. We have Badger games tomorrow night. Please, we would love to have you come out. We'd love to have everybody come out, actually. We have candy themes. We have yellow lemon heads, blue airheads, green Laffy Tappies, and orange Skittles. Each of those teams earns points for the amount of community and sibling families they bring in who are wearing their colors. So they encourage me to please divide up the colors amongst the board and come. So we'll have food at the snack shack and all of that. Our boys basketball had started. Unfortunately, I don't know whether they won today. So I'm just kind of waiting to see how they did. Our TK through 3 winter performance is next Wednesday for the school and then Thursday for families. So we're really looking forward. They've been practicing really hard. It's just adorable to see all the little jingle bells, and each class has a little saying that goes with it. So it's been great. Student council has been actually very hard at work as well. They'll be selling Santagrams, and then they have spirit days for all of next week planned. So I'm really waiting for Wednesday. It's Grinch Day and a bunch of green going around, so it'll be kind of funny. And then the ugly Christmas sweaters on Thursdays and our Christmas pajama day on Friday. So it'll be looking fun. Professional development wise, I kind of switched some things around. All K through 6 teachers were kind of did some remedial and some new training on running records so that all of our teachers are all on the same page in terms of doing classroom assessments for reading. Our SPED aides are all doing an affirm model for autism in order to really, we have a lot of new staff with a lot of veteran staff, but all of our evidence-based practices, we really want to bring everybody up to speed with. And we've also begun to pilot our science curriculum. The first round of teachers have them out. Russ Camp, Melissa Parnley has left our ELOP program after school. Russ Camp, who is our custodian, who got slimed, has taken over and has actually been doing a really great job. The boys that are in there, I think, really appreciate having a male there with them. He's just, we talk, what do you want to do? How do you want to do it? He has some new ideas. We are sending out another round of permission slips. And then from that, as we get our next 2 people, we'll create a waiting list and start opening it up to more and more kids as we get that staffed. We did after school, as part of that, a reading intervention program, about October through mid-November. Had a lot of success. We had teachers just, each of them took a leveled group, and those kids are actually seeing some nice growth. We've come back looking at the data, looking at the kids, and really have a good idea of where to move forward with a number of them. Our next round will go January 9th to February 17th. Our academic recovery, which is for our junior highs, we'll start looking at that Tuesday, January 17th, based on progress reports. But teachers were already chomping at the bit, but they were like, okay, we know who our kids are, let's continue it. Let's make sure that they have the supports they need in place. They're very dedicated to making sure that our 7th and 8th graders, but our 8th graders to make it to graduation, and really putting everything in place that some of our at-risk kids need. And they were like, can you just continue to do supports? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. So we knew that. Our SSTs are up and running. We've got all of our our 7/8 planned, and we've got our K3s looking to be during the day in January. So we've got a pretty full calendar in January. I know there have been a lot of questions about drop-off and pickups. I actually have a summary for you. Our drop-off is actually going really smoothly in the morning. We have, it's been a little light with all the sickness. I have about 20 kids, and we've been hit hard with the morning and COVID and the RSV going around. But there are a number of Pam's out there every morning. Rhiannon's out there every morning. I'm out there some mornings. Emily's out there. Yeah. It's just a great way to see the kids and how are you doing and what's going on, and making sure that they come and go. And I did lose an umbrella, so Rhiannon and I were talking about just how we're going to cover it a little bit better. But drop off has been really great. Pick up. I had 4 parents call me during the month of between kind of mid-October, mid-November, with serious concerns about kids almost getting hit between the back kids running in between buses and the front kids kind of just crossing to get to the other side of the street. So I worked with Bill Sundling, our transportation, to how else could we reconfigure our pickup and dismissal, our drop off and dismissal. And really what we came up with was having all the buses, sped buses, general ed buses in the back and all the parent pickup in the front. We've created, kind of taken the drop-off procedures and put it in place in the afternoons. So we've got our cones out there, we've got our teachers out there. They're helping to direct traffic. So far, it's going pretty well. I'm trying to talk to different parents in the line as they pick up, and they've been pretty positive about it as we kind of figure out the tweaks. I did look at expanding the space. So how can we add a safer passing lane? Talking with Bill and Ken Malvini about all of our staff is parking in our gravel parking lot for our staff, having the guest spots be in front, but taking out the spots along the fence so that we could really make that a safe space where kids can get out and kids can get in, and making sure that puts it all put together. I'm working on signage that will be, please pull forward. Here's cone number 1, cone number 2, looking at cones, making sure my staff has really highly reflective either vests or jackets, much like our kids wear in the morning. We know it's going to take a little bit of time. I have spoken with the Badger Boosters. They are very much in favor of starting something, of putting something in place to help with the safety pieces. Between the cones and some of the signage, I've been talking with them. It's part of what I've given you too. It's about $1,000, and they're like, absolutely. What else do you need? And they're actually pretty excited just to get something in place and say we'll tweak it from there. Sure.
What time is the Christmas performance? Do you have that yet?
8:30.
8:30 on
Both of them are, Wednesday's for the school,
Okay.
and Thursday is for families to come. Please come either day. They're both at 8:30, first thing in the morning.
And then can you tell me what the Battle of the Books is about?
It's 6 through 8. They read different books, different genres. There's a set list, and then it's like a quiz bowl where they actually go in at put on through CCOEs over at Mountain Oaks, and they go through rounds of questions. And and there were some. I was looking at that, and I was talking to actually Iris Bender. I'm like, oh my gosh. She goes, okay, and then there was this one. I don't even care how we do the conversations that the books are generating are really exciting. They're reading, they're interested, they're sharing. I'm like, okay, we've won. So so we spent a fair amount to make sure the kids who wanted to participate could and had the books.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Questions, comments? Thank you so
Mhm.
much. Next, we have.
Can I just ask, so, and not to put you on the spot, but so that Lisa is well prepared, if you hear as board members any comments, because we know that pick up and drop off is never fun at Mark Twain for a variety of reasons. But if you're hearing from parents or whatever, please forward that feedback to her so that she'll know what that looks like. Because sometimes they'll share with you. When I was a site principal, they might share with you, but they would tell me that life is great and yes, this is a good plan, but out there it might be different. So if you just forward that information, that would be really helpful so that she can make the best decisions. With regard to that, we did, when I did learn of it, talk about not creating any more confusion and really spending Thanksgiving to the holiday break as kind of a pilot and really looking at that. So any feedback that you can give is very important as we continue. And just a little teaser is that a later agenda item where you might be going forward with some DSA plans would certainly help Mark Twain as we move the TK room. So just saying, that might be a benefit to go in that direction. Thank you.
Next we have Cabral Elementary Principal,
Um,
and she has page 36 in the packet.
She has her report. She is traveling with her daughter this evening, so she is not in attendance, but she did share that if you have any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to ever reach out to her.
Next, we have a consent agenda items. We have approval of purchase orders, approval of warrants. approval
Would
of
you
minutes.
like my report?
Oh, I'm just skipping things all over the place.
No.
I would love, this is what I come for.
I know, he's trying to, it's the small print.
I wish I could
Agendas.
sit out.
It's like crazy. But anyway, I will keep it short. You do have my report. We are still hovering at above in our enrollment. It hasn't gone down. Generally, you have a fair amount of movement during winter break, both plus and minus. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of is out. I do have exciting news. I'm thrilled. Is that in our report that's going in for seedbeds, we have finally gotten over the 50% with free and reduced meals. We're at 53%. So, and we can take another jump up later in the year. But just being over 50% will help us in a variety of things that we're trying to do, especially around the facilities, but also with some other grant opportunities. For example, we will have open to us being able to apply this spring for the ACES grant, which ACES is the after school grant, which you might say, why should we do it? Because we're getting, we already have the 9 hours and that is actually additional, and we have the 30 extra days. One of the nice things about the ACES is it's very specific and it brings a lot of dollars in it brings a lot of dollars into the district that would just make our ACES program that much stronger, especially in the areas of remediation and enrichment, in terms of having the entire spectrum of kids served, from our kids that need the extra help to our kids that need to have programs that are above average, or those high level STEAM and those high level critical thinking areas. That would be a very exciting thing to come. So that's exciting to have happen. Our ELAC committee and BLAC committee, I just want you guys to be very proud of them. They are feeling so confident after just a few short years that they actually are putting pressure on the high school, and the high school has not had an ELAC, BLAC committee. Apparently, the numbers at the high school level, but the superintendent, Scott Nanick, has welcomed them, and so they are having a joint meeting between Mark Twain and the high school to help them learn kind of the ropes with Mr. Nanick. They are having that on January 11th. So they are feeling confident, and they're feeling very much a part of the community in which they want, and to just be inclusive to all folks that are not English first speakers. So that's something to be proud of that they've accomplished on your behalf. So that's it. When we get to the consent agenda items, it's number 7. There's a correction for the approval of minutes. It's item number 7.
Right. So for consent agenda items, we have approval of purchase orders, approval of warrants, approval of minutes, approval of Cowers County Special Education Local Plan SOFA, and our claim surplus for discard. So what correction were you noting?
On the minutes of the, for the board on the 17th of November, item number 7 had that Jenny Eltringham made seconded a motion on the consent agenda items, and she was absent. That particular item was pulled, and we didn't do a vote. So I don't think we need to do a correction because we ended up pulling that item due to an error.
So your request on the
It's just noting that you want to note
know
that,
that was absent, but it's not damaging in terms of.
correct.
Okay. Good. So were there any other questions or comments regarding the consent agenda items? Okay, so I seek a motion for approving consent agenda items with the correction on the November 17th minutes of the second was not made by Jenny, and that is not relevant because we died.
I'll make that motion.
So Diane has a motion. Second. Second. Chrissy?
Aye.
Timothy? Aye. Kendall?
Aye.
Diane?
Aye.
Passes 4-0 with 1 absent. Now we're going to action items. So we get to jump, this will be with a roll call vote. We're jumping to page 391, resolution of the matters committing to meet financial obligations and maintaining fiscal solvency 2020-2023-05. You have the stage.
Yeah, this is a copy, it's an updated copy of the resolution that I brought forward to you.
Before you go too far, just because Sam's got to get it up on the screen legally,
Oh, okay.
so that everybody has it at the exact same time.
I need to find out picture that Michael has.
Oh, I need beautiful. Oh, baby boy. Just trying to text him.
Anybody want this? Here.
Elaine, should I put up
Anybody?
a slideshow, right? Should I put up a slideshow?
You see you, Michael?
That would be good, but right now we're doing the resolution.
Where's the resolution?
I have the resolution. But it's the same resolution that I did last year, establishing the additional percent reserve that we need for balancing, and it's another cushion for in case we run into problems. There could be problems next year, even though the COLA is predicted to be around 8%. It might be deficited, so we wouldn't receive the full 8. So this is a cushion on that, so that we can retain that additional 5%.
So I'm going to read it out loud because we really should have it as a public document. So I apologize that we don't have it up on the screen. We will make it public on the website this evening. It's not either.
Okay.
So, so I will read it out loud so it's on record. And then Sam, before we leave here tonight, we've got to get it on the website. And anybody in the audience that would like it, we will make copies before you leave of it. So before the governing board of the Mark Twain Elementary School District, County of Calaveras, State of California, in the matter of committing to meet financial obligations and maintaining fiscal solvency, Resolution 2022-2305, whereas the governing board has a fiduciary duty to meet its financial obligations in the current year and 2 subsequent fiscal years pursuant to Education Code 42127. And whereas significant fiscal challenges exist for the forecast periods 2023, 24, and 24, 25. And whereas current planning factors result in deficit spending that will require corrective actions to maintain the fiscal stability of the district. Now, therefore, the governing board of the Mark Twain Union Elementary School District resolves as follows. A safe and high-quality education program will be maintained for all students. The district will maintain a 9% for required reserve and 5% board-adopted reserve for economic uncertainties and maintaining adequate cash flow. The district will make timely updates to its multi-year financial projections based on generally accepted planning factors for California K-12 public education. If the fiscal condition of the district further deteriorates, the district will implement all necessary budget adjustments, revenue increases, expenditure reductions, reserve allocations for fiscal years 2023, 24, and 24, 25 to meet financial obligations and maintain fiscal solvency. The district is committed to fulfilling its obligations to respond to provide requested information and take the necessary actions to resolve questions for the Calaveras County Office of Education regarding the district's financial operations. The foregoing resolution was passed and adopted upon motion of board member blank, seconded by board member blank at the meeting of this board held on December 8th, 2022 by the following vote and to be signed by the board clerk. Are there any questions about what was read? Any from the public? I apologize that this wasn't printed and ready for you. So you guys need to make a motion, and if you agree with that. And basically, as Elaine said, it's to maintain that 9% that you're obligated to both by your board policy and by state requirement.
Any questions or comments from the board or from the public? I see a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Diane makes a motion.
Second.
Kendall makes a second. Roll call vote. Christie? Timothy, aye. Kendall?
Aye.
Diane?
Aye.
Passes 4-0 with 1 absent. B, first interim financial report for fiscal year 2022-2023. Hello again.
Handed out was the executive summary. This is the written summary report, but also we have a PowerPoint that further summarizes it. So I won't go over the PowerPoint because you can read the executive summary. I'm sorry, I'm just standing doing this. So the first interim is the district's financial activities through October 31st and contains revenue expenditure projections for the current fiscal year. Second slide. And this is the state mandated report, which the board is required to certify to the Calaveras County Office of Education, whether we're positive, qualified, or negative. We are certifying a positive report. But this, you have the state mandated report is by December 15th to the Calaveras County Office of Ed. That's why we're doing it tonight. financial, the next slide, Sam. This is giving you the definitions of what a positive certification qualified or a negative certification. And the first interim reporting is a positive this year and 2 subsequent years. So this, the next slide is the general fund summary. We are deficit spending at this point. A lot of it is due to one-time restricted funding. And so it's a little bit better on that. You can see the restricted programs have really increased a lot, and that's due to one-time money. The arts and music grant and the learning recovery grant, we've got a total of about $1.2 million, but we don't have a plan on spending it yet. So that's why that's the restricted program is increased. And this is, Sam, the next one. This is the revenues. As you can see, a small graph, and then what was in the adopted budget and what is in the first interim. And it's by the categories, the LCFF, the federal revenue, and other state revenue, and local revenue. So you can see that we did have increase in, we can go on to the next one. You can see that the local controlled funding formula went over $210,000. You approved that on the 45-day revision, so you've known about that ahead of time. The federal revenue increase of $115,000, that was carried over from last year. We didn't spend it so we could increase the revenue for this year. The other state revenues, you can see quite a bit of that has been increased. The local revenue also was increased to $130,000. Basically, we've got a bus grant for $165,000. Then I also had a reduction of $42,000 where we're not being reimbursed for something for bus transportation from Calaveras County. So that's not coming in because the child is not being bused to Calaveras Unified. In the expenditures, again, the graph and the explanation between the adopted budget and the first year. Then the next page, it shows the changes. The certificated salaries were decreased 55,000, and it's basically we had planned to appoint 8 additional counselors that we didn't need, so we could reduce the salary. Classified salaries increased 29,000. Basically, we did not budget for the TK parents that are in there. So that's the additional there. The employee benefits increased, and that's up and down and changing health insurances and all sorts of things. The books and supplies and the services increased. And basically, some of that is if I could increase the revenue that's coming from the federal and the state, I could increase some of the expenditures without having any problem. The capital outlay of 183, that's the new bus that's been ordered. So we had a net increase to expenditures of 610,582. And the ending balance and the reserves, you can see right now we're not deficit spending this year because of the one-time money. And so our ending balance increased by the 717,000. The 1,468,000 that's on the unrestricted side, which means that the board has decisions on how we spend it by recommendations from staff. And the restricted balance, you'll see is over $2 million. That's money that we're receiving that we have to plan on how we're spending. Some of it, like the arts and music, we have till June of 2024. So we have time to plan what we need to do. And also the learning recovery money, we don't have to spend till 2026. So that's why right now it's in the ending balance. The unrestricted reserve is saying that the total unrestricted reserve is 14%. Last year it was 19%. So you can see what deficit spending does to the unrestricted side. That's why we needed the resolution, so that we maintain solvency. You can see where the 4% and the 5% reserve, which leaves an unassigned balance of 526,651. That's what's available above the 9%. The multi-year projections, these are the assumptions that I used to do the multi-year, or Bernadette and I did on the multi-year projections. And you can see where you see in the year 22, 23, the statutory COLA is 6.56. The 12.84 that is funded is the additional money, and why we needed a 45-day revision. But you will notice in the following years, this is based on the budget when it was adopted in June at the state level. So we won't get new assumptions on the statutory COLA or the funded COLA until the governor comes out with his budget. The 8% is rumored non-COLA, so it's not in stone until we see that. And I think the January budget is due around the 10th of January. And I know school services is giving a workshop on the 18th of January. Capital Advisors is right around that date too, but I didn't look.
Actually, Capital Advisors is like 2 days prior.
2 days prior. So it's, and usually I attend, and I've recommended to Bernadette that she attend both. School services gives us the detail of what we need to put together a multi-year and the budget. Capital Advisors gives us the more political angle of if the governor's budget, if it's going to go through the legislation, or if there are going to be challenges or changes. But PERS and STIRS did not change. The ADA and enrollment, I left the same as what we did on the budget, because I didn't change enrollment, although we're up about 40 from what I recommended. When I did the estimated ADA, I did 95% when I estimated the ADA that's coming in. But our ADA is running about 89–90%. So I don't think there's going to be that much of a difference between what I projected and what's going to come in, but we won't know for sure until the end of December. That's when the first attendance report goes in. And then on the next slide, the multi-year projection, you can see it looks better, but what is going down is the unassigned, the bottom line, unassigned reserve. This year, we'll have unassigned balance of 526. Next year, 261,000, going down. And then actually the 143, 125 that you see there, I had to change the 5% reserve for the board to 2.5 because I kept getting an error in the state software. So you don't quite have the additional 5% at that time, but to get the state software to balance. So that's why that 5% is needed on there. And then these are the other funds. Right now, Fund 13 is deficit spending only because they've got one-time money out there that's been carried over for a couple of years. So they need to spend that one-time money. Deferred maintenance, we knew we were doing projects this summer and through this fall. Fund 21, that has the shade structure for copper, HVAC at Mark Twain. The developer fees on here, this is where we're taking like the architect fees and the consultants out of there so that for the projects that we're looking at for capital improvement. Fund 40 is just interest. Fund 51, this is debt service. This is where we collect the money from the taxpayers when they pay their property tax for the school. The money comes in here. And then the outstanding bonds we had from the 2006 bond election, this is where we're repaying that, and that's in 51. Then the next thing, the 23, 24, we'll start working on that in January with our revenue assumptions from the governor's budget, and then the expenditure assumptions where we'll do the enrollment projection to see what kind of class sizes and different things that we need. And then all of that will be based on positions and enrollment, staffing recommendations by staff. The second interim report you'll receive in March of 2023 with more updated information like the governor's budget, some of the assumptions that we'll be doing that. And that will be through January 31st. And then we'll wait for Bernadette and I will be working on building the 23-24 budget, and we'll have more accurate information as we go along. I'm hoping with two of us this year that you'll get some advanced information probably in April so that we're not in June saying, okay, here's your budget and we haven't seen or discussed anything. So that's my objective. So, and then do you have any questions?
Just curious, how do you determine on the multi-year projection assumptions, the enrollment from CalPATS? How do you determine each year out?
Basically what I do is like the number that's in first grade will go to second grade.
Right.
And then for kindergarten, I usually use the same amount as the enrollment that we have this year.
Okay.
And so it's just, and that's why you have larger class sizes in 6th, 7th, and 8th than you do in kindergarten, first, and third. So that's why the enrollment goes down.
And then on the other funds, the 13, Fund 13, child nutrition, that's all of the food, right? Or is there?
That's just basically food. And the salaries of the kitchen staffs and, but all of the funding is in there for that. Now, they do have in the general fund some equipment and training money that's one-time money. And so they do have a little bit in the general fund, but the majority of all of it is in Fund 13.
And my last one. What does the state require a reserve to be now?
Right now, it's 4%. There was a couple years ago, if you were large enough, which we're not, it's up to, we have to have a ADF 2,500 to do that. They want us to have no more than 10%. But that's why I keep it at the 9, because that gives us enough cash flow to get through July and August.
Any other questions? Any from the audience? Thank you so much for your time on this.
Thank you for the PowerPoint. It helps.
Well, it's a lot of numbers and a lot of pages and different things. And the state report is about that big, which is just all kinds of numbers. But if anybody desires a copy of the state report, I will run you a copy.
I seek a motion.
Make a motion.
Christie has the motion, second. Kendall has the second. Roll call vote. Christie.
Aye.
Timothy, aye. Kendall.
Aye.
Diane.
Aye.
Passes 4-0-1 with one absence. Next, update transportation policies, bus rules, page 393 in the packet.
Thank you. We had unusual, maybe not unusual, but it seemed like we had a bit of an issue with some spiking behaviors. And we did learn some things in terms of just how we handle things internally with our bus transportation policies. And in looking at some of the parent concerns that arose from the transportation referrals and things like that, what I surmised was that we needed to look at our policy, and we also needed to look at our handbook with regard to our bus rules and the referrals. The referral form that was used really was just what would typically be used in a school setting, classroom setting. And it was really difficult for the bus drivers to fill out because so much of it didn't apply. And so I think that also added confusion to parents because it really didn't hit that well. So we updated the transportation form. We updated, we didn't need to make a lot of changes on the policy, except for the fact that it does talk about, it did talk about that we didn't transport our TK, which now that TK is all day, we do. And we just updated some language in the staff handbook with regarding bus transportation, allowing for more progressive discipline and also more specific kind of expectations. We also, there's always that confusion with parents because most parents know that there is video surveillance on buses and they get very frustrated because we can't readily show that because of confidentiality. So that needed to be in there. So that's what you'll find. I did include the old handbook so that you could compare it. I included the transportation form that we would like to move to, and also just showing you the bus conduct policy that you currently have and showing that we are looking at that for an update review. because it was one of those that had not been looked at since 2015. So I would ask you that you would approve that. And I do know the transportation. I did, in putting this out there, I did send it out to Bill Sudling and to the bus drivers. And for feedback, they have put feedback, and that's represented in especially the form for them to use. They're planning on having a meeting on the 16th with it fully being implemented, with parents knowing after break.
Or
What is that highlighted? Is this what was added on the back on page 398?
Yes. That was added from your previous bus. You have your current and you have your previous. And then what you have also is we updated the rules in terms of what the loss of privileges are. So that if you look on the bus rules, that's in bold print. That wasn't there previously. And so that number 9, that has been reworked on that as well. Compared to your old one. And again, what we found is you went from a warning and it wasn't expressed as, is that a verbal warning? Is that a written warning? How does that warning come? How do parents know about that warning? How many? It just said warning, and then you went straight to 5 days. And so even though the other thing that we did is for things like seatbelt or, you know, to keep having food on the bus or some of those minor things, one of the biggest issues that we found was it was getting caught up in, by the time our bus drivers, you know, their day is really specific to the bus. So they would have to come back, do the referral. By the time they got it, you know, to whomever was going to send it, then that got to the site principal. You had several days that passed, and then that would upset parents. And they would be like, why am I just now getting this when it happened days ago or whatever? And it was to no one's fault. It was just an extra step. So with Bill Sudling being the transportation director and actually splitting that job, if it's not a 48,900 offense, like that you have to have an administrative credential to suspend. So all your 49,800s, like fighting, serious fighting, gun, weapons, serious objects, sexual harassment, those kinds of things that you have to have a certificate, credential to do. There's no reason why we can't shorten the time frame, get the information to the parents. So the bus drivers, that was the other thing is, you know, the bus drivers are dealing with that behavior and waiting for somebody to do something, and they've still got the behavior on the bus. So Bill will be taking care of those items that are really specific to the bus, that aren't those 48,900 issues. And he will still do the bus part, but he will turn it over if it's a 48,900 to the site administrators, so there's further. And so we're hoping that it just tightens it up so the parents feel like they have better communication. We're hoping that bus drivers don't feel like they're, you know, having to endure things for, you know, days and days and days. So that's our goal.
Are the cameras already?
Yeah, and they have been for a long time. And so most, you know, many times a parent will want to see even the cameras on campus. You know, one of the things that we always have to do is like, I have to go through them or the administrator, because before we can show it to a parent, we have to make sure that there are no other students visible. That's pretty hard to do on a bus. So you have to really, and it takes a lot of time, although in really egregious situations, we can, we can manipulate the frames so that you remove those kids. But I felt it was good to just put in the policy so it wasn't just this automatic, I want to see the camera. It's like, it has to be a pretty egregious, and we have to be able to protect everybody else.
Are there signs on the bus saying that, are there signs on campus saying that you're being recorded when you're on campus?
We do have signs. Never seen them. Just curious. I don't know if they're very big. I think Mark Twain's at the very, very front of the building. Yeah. Like, we don't want to point out where they are at, because believe me, the kids already know. Like, I'm not gonna fight there. I'm gonna fight over here because I know the camera doesn't. They do know.
I've never paid attention. I was like, where are the cameras?
Yeah. The kids absolutely know where they're at.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to, I thought it was really well done.
Public, any comments, questions?
Thank you.
I seek a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Kendall has motion.
Oh, go ahead.
Hi, wow.
Go ahead.
Christie has a second. Roll call vote. Christie. Kendall. Diane.
Aye.
Passes 4-0-1. Next, we have submitting plans to DSA for TK modernization. Before we dive in, I want to make a comment. I wanted to make sure that the powers of the dealing with architecture stuff, that they understand, and I'm sure with the rest of the board, but I won't speak for them, that in my quiet way, I'm enthusiastic about what I'm seeing. And it may not show because I use most of my enthusiasm for teaching math during the day. And, but I know we all probably focus in on specific areas. The part that I really liked was the improving the drop-off areas for safety, the huge thing. And then what I really, really liked was moving the office down where it's going to be a place not for safety will make more sense for, but also to be much more welcoming, just because of the geographical change. So those are parts that I am excited about. And then there's lots of other parts. I don't know, the shading stuff is all good, but I wanted to acknowledge the work that you've done, and that clearly I think that you've looked at the input from the community. Did the board have anything you really wanted to comment or add on? All right, so proceed now for any discussion on the submitting plans.
So, and thank you, Alexis, for showing up. This is a surprise visit. We were just on Zoom like 4 hours ago. So I was expecting him. We do have Chris DeLong on as well. So this is actually 3-part. And Alexis is going to take you through the first part. But what you're really going to do is what we're asking you to do, and you kind of did it before, but we want to formalize it, is that now is the time. We know today that the election results have been certified. They are official today, and we are still 1.63% away from passing a bond. So we did not make it to the 55% threshold. So what we need and what we're hoping for direction on as Alexis goes through is we definitely want to move forward with what we can do, and that is getting plans in place so that we can go to DSA and the Office of School Construction, so that we can move forward with the TK that we're bound to do, and some other projects through modernization, and really being able to utilize every dollar. I know, Scott, you asked last meeting, how come we hadn't spent kind of the money? And I think we're all at that place where, it was fiscally sound and fiscally prudent in the past to not necessarily spend that money as previous boards, and some of you did, to say, no, let's hold on to it for various reasons. But now we're at the place where it seems prudent, fiscally sound, to go forward with what we can. And so we're asking you to, one, approve conceptually after Alexis takes it through, that we move forward based on the information that he's going to give you. And then that leads you into two other decisions. And the first decision is that Chris DeLong has worked with the district and done a great job for the district in really helping our staff, myself, and our staff at the DO really understand what's available, how it breaks down, if we do this, what this means, and how we can capitalize and basically, for lack of better word, play this fade against themselves in order, well, you know, it makes sense to use TK right now, but then we can pull back and use modernization or whatever. He's been really good about kind of keeping us really understanding those processes, and he has the knowledge to quickly, more than any of us have the expertise, to really go after those grants and understand the applications in order to get them to the place that they need to be in the line. So we would need to improve, we would need to approve his services for those, which he has outlined. And then we would need to, Alexis has done and his team have done an amazing job doing all the prep work, which has been phenomenal and pretty just fun to watch this whole thing birth. And now it's really agreeing to the services of making the blueprints and getting them submitted. So turn it over to you with that long introduction.
Thank you, Paula. And thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. And these flowers are lovely. I wasn't expecting that. So thank you. It's great to be here and see you all tonight. As Paula alluded to, I've got a little bit of losing my voice, so hopefully I'll get through. We have obviously the bond didn't pass, which is a bummer, but we do have an opportunity to get some state funds, quite a bit of state funds. We've got $1.3 million that we're eligible for here and 2.3 up at Mark Twain. And so the question is, how do we move forward, get in line for those funds? That's for sure money, but it's not tomorrow money. It's next year, a couple of years down the line. So it's just about getting in line. So our recommendation is for both sites to go ahead, prepare the set of plans, get it approved by the Division of State Architect, the Department of Education, and that will be those two. Once those two entities have approved the plans, then we can submit it to the Office of Public School Construction and get in line for those funds. At the same time, the second, third, and fourth pieces of the recommendation is get after the TK buildings here and up at Mark Twain. So we do have the money in hand to be able to do those. We, of course, will be submitting with Chris's help. Chris is great. We've got him on multiple districts throughout the state, and he's the best when it comes to figuring out how to maximize your OPSC funding. We will be submitting again here in February for TK funding. So there's a good possibility. It's early days still, but you know, the basic idea is move forward what we can and just keep our eyes open for any opportunity that comes up. There's a potential of some HVAC money coming on the federal level, which we'll be looking at, but just keeping our eyes open and maximizing our dollars where we can. So that's our recommendation to you. Ultimately, it's your decision. And I'm mainly here to answer any questions you may have.
Anything from the online? Ms. Pollock, just so I make sure I'm interpreting my paperwork correctly. So we have the two parts of the approval, first for the grant consulting services and architectural services, correct?
So yes, well, conceptually, you need to decide, I would do an action item that conceptually, yes, you want to move forward with pursuing DSA approval on phases, especially that we've lined out in phase 1 of TK, and the scope of work for OPSC, and then the two subcategories of that, because if you choose not to do that, there's no reason to entertain the consulting service, the grant consulting services of Hancock and DeLong, nor employing Alexis any further. So in doing those blueprints. So the first action item I would suggest that you do is formally say, yes, we want to pursue, and then you would be able to take action on the.
So like, discussion about the idea of moving forward. Is it motion?
I'll make a motion.
Christie has the motion, second. Kendall has a second. Roll call vote. Christie, Timothy, aye. Kendall.
Aye.
Diane. And passes 4-0-1 absent. So now on grant consulting services.
Chris, would you like to speak to that, or Chris, the first one, the first sub item is specifically to Chris's consultation with regard to grants, if you have any questions specific to him.
I'm sorry, Paula, did you ask if I had something to say or were there questions?
There look like there are any questions, but if you have anything you'd like to add to what Alexis and I shared, feel free.
I think the only thing I would add is whether you decide to move forward with my company services or anybody else's for that matter, I would just advocate that you do so because the sooner you can get in line, the better.
Part one, the grant services. Questions, comments? I seek a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Christie has a motion, second. Diane is a second. Roll call vote. Christie.
Aye.
Timothy, aye. Kendall. Diane. Passes 4-0-1. We have textual services. Were there any additional comments from our experts?
I would just say that we post here the fee, it's the California standard for book school architecture. So it's just the standard deal. And the contract itself is actually prepared by, we don't make the contract is prepared by your attorney. So paperwork stuff is all done by your own attorney.
You can certainly do it. See, so we've based it on college and legal services, which is where the attorneys get those template contracts. So you can make it pending his final review if you would like on both of these items. But it's pretty standard to when you employed him before that it's the same basic template. One of the things that you saw some of the amendments, and part of the reason I'm having those amendments is that you can do them as you get ready for that particular project. And so you don't have to continue to go back. So.
I just had a question about the fee. When do we choose the basic, expanded, or premium? When does that?
So we've
sorry.
made a recommendation to proceed with the expanded services based on some of the things that we think that you're going to need. We always want to give people the option so that they know kind of, okay, this, we could have done this, we could do this. But our recommendation is that the expanded services is going to fit you best.
Any other questions from the board? Questions from the audience? Let's seek a motion.
Let's say one thing. I would recommend having your lawyer look at the construction contract. These you'll probably get the construction before the construction begins. Make sure your lawyers look at that particular contract. Not these. There's not as much risk, but there's indemnity provisions and liability for poor construction things. Those are important enough to have. That's it. That's all.
And, right, no, and those are several years out.
They're all going to be here.
Yeah. There's several years out, and we have to go to bid for those, and so actually, our legal counsel, your legal counsel, will help prepare those bid packets.
We had
So,
that discussed earlier.
and we
about-
did discuss that earlier, where Byron, your legal counsel chooses and suggested that you guys put that in the bid packet. So that will be done so that the contractors, when we go out to bid, will actually have the contract in front of them. And that was his preference. And he did work with you guys on that back in September or whatever.
Thank you for your comment. You.
Yeah.
your
We got
role.
one more thing.
No, that's excellent advice.
What is the motion? Diana's motion. Kendall seconds. Roll call vote. Christie?
Aye.
Timothy? Aye. Kendall?
Aye.
Diane? That's a 4-0-1. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
No, right?
Item E, superintendent search is where we're looking at our next step. Well, I have to talk to you, see if I made any faux pas as usual. I printed out, if you weren't able to dig it out, the suggested possible paths and costs and stuff. But I didn't give it to, you submitted as part of the packet. Is that an issue?
It's been part of the packet.
In the past, I have.
Yes. And so I didn't include it in this one because you actually received it last time. So
I have 2 more things left to sign. It's not enough. So here we're looking at different possible paths that were discussed. Christie has her thumb on the pulse of many things, I think, and noted that 2 nearby districts are already, if this is a race ahead of us, I don't think we're too far behind at this time, but I think we should be moving forward on trying to determine which type of consultant we wish to have. And I don't know, Diane, if I've left off one that you had talked about.
Right, I sent you an email on that one.
Do you recall off the top of your head on that one? Because I didn't include it.
You know, I have it on there. If I remember
Yep.
correctly. These were Sam, this is from
Same
Sam.
as
San
the
Juan.
Sonora one?
Same as- No, I think San Juan County.
What did you like about that one?
I just thought that would be, I would think I'd like to talk to that individual also, you know, include that with the group, so you know, the board should talk to him and, you know, see what they thought about him also.
I regret I left it off. Are there any that stand out above others? Or here for us?
Bret Hart is.
Might I make a suggestion?
I would
That
like
might
to
make
hear-
this
What-
less painful. So if you think, if your decision or your general consensus is to go for a consultant, what you could do is direct the superintendent and the district office to contact those people and provide you with a document of their services and their fees specifically for consideration at the January meeting. And that would, and have them give you a bio, because it sounds like there's one that's not on there that you'd want to find more information about, and you're going to want information other than, I mean, I think what I prepared for you is just who's been used and who was, you know, and people generally were happy, but like, other than Tim Taylor, I couldn't tell you about any of that. I mean, I know him personally with SSDA, but beyond that, I can't speak for
Could we ask
their
for
services.
2 or 3,
Sure,
and then we could include the San Joaquin one,
sure.
and then in January, when we have board nuts and bolts on that, we could make a decision. We'll get it. Who's your idea? Okay, cool. I know, but
But
without you.
I would just say that I'll put in my parting shot here, and that is that if Bret Hart is not who was chosen, that would be who I would lean for too.
The both by Sonora and Bret Hart, Tim Taylor. So is that one of the targets we would like to get information from? And then the San Joaquin one? Is there a third one?
You don't need 3. You
No,
can
I
keep it at
understand.
2.
Two's good.
Okay.
But I just want to say I don't want anyone left off of the favorite. Could you please, I would direct you to do contact with people and get.
Diane, since we're going to be together all day tomorrow, could you bring me that information and I can get it out to them?
We want to do the Karen Bale suggested. Could we add that one, please?
Okay.
We have 3 potential candidates. Okay. Item F, adopt resolution 2022-2303, date 455, the back in recognition of service and appreciation.
Mr. Randall,
Yes.
would you like to join me and present some flowers?
Oh, yes.
I figured you might not mind that, Jen. So this bouquet, Alexis, is not for you.
Coming to realize that.
But those are on behalf of the district. You can't read the vase but it does say, successful is the person who leaves the world better than they have found it, who never fails to look for the best in others or give the best of themselves. Kendall Moreland, thank you for your invaluable service to Mark Twain UESD. So thank you. And then the resolution of appreciation reads Mark Twain Union Elementary School District Board of Education, resolution of appreciation, Kendall Moreland. Whereas Kendall Moreland has served with excellence and distinction on the MTUSD Board of Education for the from December 2014 through December 2022, and provided a strong and articulate student voice for all MTUSD students. And whereas from her first meeting, she has spoken up and done so with honesty, poise, and forthrightness. And whereas she is drawn from her experiences as a parent and proud Copperopolis community member. And whereas she has consistently advocated for all children in Copperopolis and Angels Camp communities and continued to do so throughout her tenure. Examples of this include the work that she has done in the hiring processes for many classified and certificated staff and her work on updating policies, and where she has spoken passionately and candidly on opportunities for our gifted students and those who needed additional learning supports so all children can succeed. And whereas her leadership in moving through the COVID pandemic was invaluable, and whereas her comportment in these tasks is characterized by a proactive and positive disposition that is a credit to our students and to our entire MTUSD school community. Be it therefore resolved that the Mark Twain Union Elementary School District Board of Education bestows its appreciation and commendations to Kendall Moreland for her exemplary service, and that it conveys the gratitude of the district for her stellar contributions with the firm assurance and belief that she will continue to make outstanding contributions to her community and society in the future. Stated at Copperopolis, California on the 8th day of December 2022 by the following vote. And I'll let you take this over. And then we do have a frame for you, but you guys, you need to sign it, Christy. So does Timothy, as soon as we record the votes, and I'll let you record the votes as you guys take them.
Oh. Here we go.
Okay, fine. So let's get a vote so we can find out numbers. I seek a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Christie has the motion,
I'll second it.
and Diane has a second. Roll call vote. Christie.
Aye.
Timothy, aye. Diane.
Aye.
Kendall. Passes 4-0-1, a hearty 4. And thank you. My experience of you is that you would not label it, you would always deflect it to the staff, the students, the community, because you are like the mirror, taking any shine light to you to other people. That's just more of who you are.
Thank you all so much. Really means
Past
a
8
lot to
years,
me. Pardon?
past 8 years.
Yes, it was. I've loved it. It's been great. It really has. It's been wonderful. Even the hard times, it was all worth it. I loved it. I loved being part of it.
Won't be as fun as taking care of me now.
And me too. By the way, I'm her sister. But my last name is Barry, and my first name is Kelly.
Thank you for being here to support her. For training, CSBA considerations.
Yes, Byron Smith has confirmed that to lead as you requested that I check on. He will be leading a Brown Act training with the governance team on January 12th, 2022 at 4 p.m. But I did want to also bring into, and I would highly recommend, there are in-person and virtual options. Sam and I are at your disposal to sign you up, but I would recommend the CSBA training. You'll know more next week who your board president is. Scott, there's an opportunity, and for those that haven't, a master's in governance, but there's also an orientation for new trustees. And then there is an additional Brown Act that will probably certainly complement what Byron is telling you. I would also recommend perhaps that if you have the opportunity to do the equity network training, I think that will dispel a lot of myths and concerns around CRT. And so, and it will help you navigate. We are in January beginning adoptions in social studies and science, and that's where CRT is often most discussed in those adoptions. So if you have the opportunity and the time to attend those virtual trainings in the equity network, as I said, I think it will help you navigate those questions. We know from the candidates forums that Scott and Timothy attended, that CRT is alive and well in the minds of not ours, but your constituents. So just having more information about what that really means, what that's about, how textbook adoptions and things like that, and just providing equity to your student community would be beneficial. And as I said, if you want Sam and I to take care of registrations for you, we would be happy to do that.
Number 9, election results.
So we had quite a, you have in your packet the information. We did need to change. Well, we thought we needed to change the swearing in tonight and the information, but it turns out that we didn't. But because we had already, when we had been given that that information, I wanted to make sure that we were in the 72 hours, so we pulled it. And so today, they finalized the election results. We'll be getting our letter of certification on or around the 13th. So in talking with Timothy, we spent quite a lot of time on Monday evening talking and making sure that we had our ducks in the row. So we would ask you to consider Thursday, December 15th at 5:30 at the boardroom at the district office to swear, to do the swearing in and oath taking of our newest members, Timothy Randall and Scott McNerlin, and then do your organizational meeting as well. So we would ask that you do the 15th. You do have to have it done by the 23rd. So you're welcome to come back the day before Christmas Eve if you'd like to push it out that far, but you have to get it done by then.
Okay, so do we have to approve the resolution about the certificated statements of the results?
No, right now, all you're doing is confirming your date.
Okay, so all that's moved to the suggested date. Do we have a motion for, or does that have to be a motion, or just,
No, it does. It's an action item.
gotcha, okay. Please give me a motion for a date such as the 15th.
I'll make that motion for next Thursday, the 15th.
So Diane has the motion, and that'll be at 5:30. Okay, and a second?
I'll second.
Christie has a second. Roll call vote. Christie?
Aye.
Timothy? Aye. Kendall?
Aye.
Diane?
Aye.
That's 4-0-1. And let's see. For next regularly scheduled board meeting, not to be confused with the organizational meeting of next week, will be January 13th, 2022 at Copper Elementary or Purpose Room.
January 12th.
What did I say? It says 13th. Interesting. Okay.
It does. Mine says
Mine-
the 12th.
I'll go either way.
Huh, interesting.
Okay. 12th amendment. Questions, comments?
Mine doesn't have a date.
That is so bizarre. It says the 12th on mine. How can they all be different?
I don't know.
We'll blend
You
it.
get a packet. You get a packet.
Okay, thank you everyone for attending tonight. Meeting's adjourned. Okay.
Thank you for saying.